CultivatED Marketer, episode 17, next phase. Brent and Matt get together to talk about the next phase of CultivatED Marketer podcast in advance of IABC World Con 2022. Welcome to CultivatED Marketer, where we talk marketing professional development so your garden of opportunity grows. This is Brent Bowen.
And I'm Matt Tidwell.
Matt, good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while. And you and I've connected. We just haven't connected with our listening audience. Like you and I've gotten together over lunch and I think over a pint. Maybe.
Yes, a couple times, but it's nice to bring the broader group together again, right? So I'm as excited as I can be to be back here with you and to talk about kind of the next phase for CultivatED Marketer as we come off of this imposed hiatus here based on some things that we've had a few things going on in our lives, right?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a Disney roller coaster, I know, for each of us, both professionally and kind of personally. So, one of the great things is my business has been growing like a weed.
Yep, that's been happening for you and for me. As many people know, I'm ensconced in academia. And business has been good. The master's degree program that I run we've had sort of record enrollments over the last couple of years, which has been terrific. And we've added some new wrinkles for our working professional students that come with us. And so I've been kind of busy with that and just some service to the university and serving on a couple of search committees and things like that. So it's been, and in the midst of all that, coming off of a pandemic and sort of getting a chance to reinsert a little bit in the professional development community. I think I was telling you, I was at a gathering this morning for one of our local organizations, IABC, and it was good. I think we had something like 10 or 11 people there for like a 7:30 a.m. coffee. So yeah, it was really good. And it's nice to see those events come back and people get out a bit more in circulation. And so that's at least recently, that's been keeping me busy as well.
Yeah, it's great to see the in-person events starting to, I think I'd mentioned this on one of the prior episodes. Our last episode was with Eric Huey. And one of the things, in addition to the work and the board role I serve with Kansas City Young Audiences, I just recently joined the board of Social Media Club of Kansas City, trying to help resurrect the organization, because a lot of those organizations went on hiatus just because, IBC's been great. They've been able to maintain content and maintain even remote. They've had good programming from IBC. It's great to see that in-person work happen, but there have been other organizations, a lot of the professional organizations that locally have kind of struggled with programming. And now it's great to see, a lot of the rigor about getting that programming and showcasing and sharing best practices and case studies and just connecting again as human beings and professionals. It's great to see that come about.
Yeah. And I think some of the leadership groups were really concerned, will we get people to come back? But I was at our local AMA chapter, had an event at Wayside, one of the large animal shelters, Wayside Waifs, last week, and they had close to 30 people there. I mean, so, which is a good number and would have been approximating kind of where they were pre-pandemic. So I think things are coming back. It's kind of nice to see.
It is nice to see. Yeah. Social Media Club, we had a networking event about 6 weeks ago, and ended up having about 30 or 40 people come through, which was great. And that's the kind of organization, Social Media Club would pull in 100 people for a breakfast, probably not expecting that when we kind of relaunch a lot of the programming, but, expecting at least half that as folks come through. So we'll talk as we get closer to those events. I may even be speaking at one of those events, I think, for Social Media Club at some point on live streaming. Wouldn't be surprised to have me mention that here. But what else have you been up to?
Gosh, it's really been trying to keep the balls juggling in the air, but in a slightly different way. And it's amazing how your calendar shifts a bit when you go from complete remote to back in person. And so now, it's funny, even as I was looking at my activities today, it's like, during pandemic, I never used to have to plan travel transit time, right? So, I had our meeting today, right? It's like, oh, I forgot to do the little travel indicia there. So, so it's caused me to kind of get back into the old swing of things. But yeah, other than that, it's just been kind of keeping, doing the great work that we've been able to do with students, which is always a lot of fun. It's been, University of Kansas, it was a great spring for us. There was a national championship.
A little basketball thing. I was gonna. You're completely glossing over something. And as I have my KU flag like right behind you, I'm like, wait, Matt.
Well, things like national championships, Final Four, Brent. For us, those are just sort of natural occurrences, right? No, I'm kidding. It was a great spring semester, and it was a bit hard there for a while to keep students' attention, particularly during the heat of basketball season. But hey, at the end of the day, it's funny because I was talking with somebody who works in university recruiting, and when the team does well and wins a national championship, they can that tracks directly with things like inquiries and sort of metrics like that. So it's been a fun spring.
It's the best branding you can get. So how did you get to New Orleans? Because you were in New Orleans.
I was, yes.
Okay, how did you get to New Orleans? Because I'm gonna tell you, my son's an undergrad, as you know, at the University of Kansas, as a journalism and film student. And I open up my iPhone to find a Final Four digital ticket on my phone. And so I texted him and I said, I see this ticket. And he said, well, Dad, the ticket was only $40. And I think if that for students.
Oh, yeah.
And so I said to him, I go, that's great. But one, how are you getting there? And two, where the heck are you staying? Yeah. Right. And he said, I'll get back to you. I'm going to do a little research. And I think he figured out flight and hotel room was going to cost him about $4,500.
Yeah. Yeah, it was truly planes, trains, and automobiles. Very difficult flights were obviously an issue, and hotels actually were the biggest issue for us. We ended up having to stay across the river and things like that. But which kind of, I was kind of, New Orleans, you've been there many times, it's a big convention city. So I knew this was one of the first real big events post-pandemic, but I kind of thought, everything will be fine. It's a big, and it was really the travel issues around things like accommodations and flights were much more difficult than I thought they would be. So, but anyway, hey, they won, right?
They won.
As long as they won, nobody remembers that piece of it. So glad that I went. That's kind of a once in a lifetimer. So it was a lot of fun for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, we're big on problem solving in this house, but I'm glad he didn't find this. So I turned to my wife after he stopped the whole thing and sold this ticket. And I turned to my wife and I said, I'm glad he didn't find the websites where you can rent an RV.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Because then you could have solved both problems.
Yeah, pile people. And there were people that did that too.
Yeah.
So we find solutions when we need to, right?
Well, we're talking about getting together in person. You and I are going to get together in person with a number of our colleagues here in a couple of weeks at IABC World Conference. And it's set in New York. And I know I am extremely excited about reconnecting with colleagues in that kind of capacity. I had the benefit of heading out to Los Angeles at the end of March, early April. Matter of fact, I went to a KU watch party for the Providence game in an LA bar. That was super cool.
Wow.
I got tired of the conference thing and the Providence game was on and I dragged my colleague. I said, we're going to go to a watch party tonight. And so got to hang out with some fellow Jayhawks. That was a lot of fun. But I got the benefit to go to this podcast conference in Los Angeles, one of the largest in the world. It was so great to reconnect, get inspired with colleagues. You and I get the benefit of doing that at IABC World Conference. I know I'm excited that it's in New York for the first time in a long time and reinvigorating kind of professional networking and development in that city with that kind of energy is going to be great. I'm very fortunate that I'm going to get to spread some of the things I've learned at Podcast Movement at the IABC conference. So I'm speaking at that event. I'm doing a discussion on podcasting show structures that sing. So I get to speak very specifically on different types of show structures, which is a lot of fun for me just because there's so much creativity and possibility with a podcast, even beyond what we do where we sit down and interview folks. There's so much in the way of storytelling that I get to share that with people. So I'm super excited about that. And the one thing that's really cool about the IABC World Conference is the ability to connect with colleagues. You and I have had the benefit of, decades of experience with colleagues, local, national, international. And this may be the one opportunity in years that I get the chance to catch up with a colleague that I used to work with at Sprint, 15 years ago, that's now at Walmart or now working for Amazon. And I get a chance to catch a pint. And then I get to meet some new colleagues from New Zealand or Australia because there's very much an international flavor and you learn so much from that from that experience just because they view the world a little bit differently.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm so looking forward to it. And first of all, you're a bit humble, my friend. Congratulations on getting that speaking. Because I'm on the board for IABC, as you know, and I know that program committee, the process for selecting and screening speakers is definitely robust. And so for you to have been asked to speak is a nice accomplishment for you. So congratulations on that. I know.
Thank you. That may be the Midwest humility.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, we need to brag on you a bit there because that's really cool. And you continue to build your brand as the podcast guy around the communications world. So congratulations there. But yeah, gosh, I'm so looking forward to this. You and I, let's see, we were together at the Vancouver World Conference in 2019, which was the last, I can speak for IABC, I guess, since I'm on the board, the last one we were able to have. And what a great conference. I mean, it was packed. The energy was palpable. I remember you and I were on the Canada party cruising the
that was so much fun.
Party, right? Yeah. And it was just the energy there was just really incredible. And IBC has always done World Conference very well. So now, we've come off of this really tumultuous time of the pandemic where memberships have been tough to come by to keep people retaining their membership. We had to do the last 2 World Conferences virtually. So yeah, there's a lot of pent up energy to get this thing pulled off. And I know the IBC will do a great job with it and very much looking forward to it. And the same kind of things for me, reconnecting with colleagues, in my case, not just the people who attend, but also my colleagues on the board for IABC is, as we begin to think about what's next for an organization like that post-pandemic. And so it's just going to be extremely exciting. And I know one of the things that you and I were anxiously awaiting was the roster of speakers.
Yes.
And so that is now out, and it got us thinking a little bit about potential guests, right, for CultivatED Marketer.
The idiom fish in a barrel may not be appropriate, but an abundance of riches.
Yeah. Yeah, kid in a candy store, as you and I were looking at.
There you go. Okay, that's probably...
Brent and I, folks, were looking at this list going, oh my gosh, there's just so many great people on the speaker list and folks that we've worked with in the past and have national and international profiles. And so, yeah, maybe I'll just pick out a couple names here from the list that we have and talk about them. I know you have some as well, but one or two that popped out to me. Darcy Eichenberg, who really speaks a lot around the country and around the world on high performance leadership and teams working through change. Darcy keynoted our IABC Business Communicator Summit here, I think 4 years ago. Really love Darcy. I think she'll be great. Ann Wiley is, again, talk about somebody who's got a really national and international profile in a specific area. In her case, it's writing, and she's really been a specialist in writing as kind of a lost art. And so she'll be speaking, and gosh, some other people that, have had deep profiles either through IABC or just through communications. I know a guy who I didn't really know very well, but heard speak a couple of years ago as a former IABC chair, I believe. Mark Schumann is going to be at World Conference as well. So he's another guy that I see you and I kind of walking down hallways, grabbing people by the arm and step in here so we could get you on CultivatED Marketer. Because I think it truly is a kid in a candy store when you take a look at this terrific list of speakers. But I know a couple of the folks here as well. So
yeah, even before getting to my folks, the one when you were mentioning Mark Schumann and the notion that he's kind of the CEO whisperer, I'm definitely going to be attending his session because that is a trait, that is a skill that can certainly be worthwhile for anyone in their career, being able to speak to the C-suite, understand their motivations, understand how to align what you're doing from a marketing or communication standpoint to company objectives, because that's what they're thinking about all the time, right? I'm very interested in, if we aren't able to corner Mark and both strong arm him into a room to talk to him, is at least be able to attend and listen to his session. Yeah, there are a couple on here too so I'd mentioned, the work I'm doing now with Social Media Club. Every time we have a monthly meeting, the metaverse comes up as a topic, and one that we should be exploring and understanding as the next phase, as next landscape, if you will, or ecosystem, if you will, for the communicator and marketer. And there are a couple speakers speaking on that. So Shell Holtz, who's been a long time.
Oh, sure. Everybody knows Shell.
Oh yeah. And I go back probably 20 years where I was green and relatively new to the communication and marketing world, and had the opportunity to work with Shell when he was helping an organization I was with from a consulting capacity. So he adds a lot of value a lot of experience around understanding, again, how these things, even though they're shiny and new, how does it translate to successful business objectives? But Shell's going to be talking about the metaverse, as well as Joe, and I believe her last name's pronounced Iyer.
I think so.
And she's, I believe, from Australia, but works for a gaming company. So the perspective of storytelling, I'm excited to see both of these presentations on the metaverse because they'll probably bring something a little different.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a group or a topic that I'm certainly interested in, not only hearing their presentation, but seeing if we can't have the opportunity to speak with them. Couple other folks, couple other conversations. Jenny Field, I've had the opportunity to meet with at the Vancouver World Con. Very dynamic speaker, talks about communication can calm chaos. So more your organizational development culture, internal communication, but things are in such a state of flux. We talk about people returning to the workplace, this concept of remote or hybrid work. So we've had nothing but chaos for the last couple of years, right? And so I know Jenny's going to be able to handle that topic with such depth and skill that I'm excited to speak and catch up with her. And then the other one, people don't see us, but if they go onto the website, they can see us, is they know that we're both middle-aged white men, right? and guilty, right? And, I had mentioned I'm on the board for Kansas City Young Audiences, which a whole part of its mission is helping underserved communities. So one of the things we're exploring through that organization is DEIA, as many organizations are, looking at DEI initiatives. And Adam Ross is talking about, to step back, as a middle-aged white man, as I'm engaging in those conversations, I almost have a little bit of imposter syndrome. I was telling you that before the conversation. It's like, how can I really help? How can I really add value? And so Adam has his presentations engaging men in gender equity initiatives and diversity initiatives. And so I'm really excited to maybe catch up with Adam and maybe you and I, as middle-aged white man, can find a few solutions on how we can contribute and provide value in a lot of things that are, top of mind and societally relevant.
Well, those conversations continue. I mean, it's so, I think, top of mind for all organizations. How are we going to treat DEIB in the appropriate way and make it a significant part of our organization and really see the strengths that DEIB can bring to us as an organization. And so I think those are extremely important conversations to have. And so, in fact, I think there was actually more than just his presentation on that DEIB topic. So that's always a hot one. I noticed the same thing. That'll be very thought provoking. Definitely want to see what Adam has to say about that.
Sure. And we've just scratched it. Like you said, a kid in the candy store, we've just scratched the surface on the number of the great sessions, the number. There was one, too. There's a panel discussion. You and I noticed some folks from Reagan. We're going to be there where they're talking about the future communicator 2030. So I think really prognosticating forward what we need to be paying attention to, which I think will be insightful, but a number of great possibilities and sessions for sure.
Yeah. And, I don't want to forget, Brent, that now that we're coming off hiatus, right, we've had still 2 or 3 targets out there that we've been circling more local here to the Midwest and the Kansas City area that we wanted to get on the show. One that I had talked with a few weeks ago that I'm really excited to get her book just as quickly as we can is Dr. Danny Legree at Kansas State University. She's in their journalism school there, and she does some fascinating research on younger professionals, nice fit with our show, who want to move into leadership roles and what that looks like and what are the differences in terms of things like gender in that regard. And so I think Danny's research is I'd love to get that deep research that's happening in our business that is admittedly a little bit more on the academic side, but I think definitely has application on the professional side as well. And believe me, she's worked in the profession, she's worked at agencies, so she knows how to translate that very easily. Really excited to maybe try to get Danny on the show as quickly as we can after, of course, we get back from all of this activity we're going to have in New York City.
Yeah, so I'm excited to speak with Danny when we get back from IBC. And then I think the couple other folks we were looking to chat with, or at least topics that we were looking to identify, was multicultural.
Yep.
Marketing was a possibility. And then even some nonprofits. So we've dabbled and probably had some case studies. If we reflect on the first 10 plus episodes that we've produced, right?
Yeah.
There have been case studies in the nonprofit world, but really to speak with somebody that's in it day in and day out and have a nonprofit marketer. We've been doing some interesting work with the organization Unbound. And so there's likelihood we can bring on a Steve McLean, who's the head of marketing there at Unbound, and trying to incorporate. He was at the last in-person BCS. He was there as he didn't speak, but he was one of the folks in attendance, and he's been in leadership roles at several different companies around the city in marketing, and just trying to understand and share the challenges that nonprofit goes through, their ability to tell story, the ability with inflation and tightening wallets. How's the donor ask happening? There were a lot of challenges during the pandemic. There were a lot of concerns about a lot of nonprofits, as many businesses, but also nonprofits going out of business. So excited to speak with someone like a Steve. If Steve, I think's the individual I know will be able to line up, but that nonprofit world's something we're looking to explore.
Yeah. And and I know as we come off hiatus here into this next phase, we're going to keep that focus on, professional development, right? So and I think really with an eye toward, certainly professional development for everybody, but with an eye toward younger professionals, because this is a critical time for them. You and I both deal with them. And I think so when we can bring, it's funny, as I was getting ready for the conversation, I've just been playing in my Apple Play in my car, some of our past episodes. And boy, I'll tell you, if we can accomplish in phase 2 what we did in phase 1, because when you look at some of the guests we had, I mean, these are very smart people, Jessica Best and Grant Gooding. And, you and I both said, well, we'll have short conversations. They ended up being 2-parters, probably could have been 3-parters
sure.
in some ways. But, I listened to Grant and Jessica's episode just to pull them out just the other day. And I highlighted 3 or 4 things that I'm now going to use in classes, clips from what they had to say about young professionals, what they look for in young professionals, what they value in professional development, how you can gain leadership experience by being on a nonprofit board. There are just so many pearls there that I think are important for the kind of students that I work with, and I know you work with as well. So if we can replicate that in phase 2, I think we'll have a hit on our hands.
Yeah, people can't see me smiling at you when you were talking through that, because in my presentation, there's actually a 1-minute soundbite from Grant.
Oh, yeah, right.
Around the A versus C student, right? Mm-hmm. So that little gem he shared with us. And then Jessica, I'd be remiss to not mention Jessica, because she was just named Kansas City Next Gen Leader by the Business Journal. So these are the types of folks where we're being able to benefit from the conversation and garner kind of these, like you said, these pearls of wisdom from their experience, from their lessons learned, their successes, their failures, and being able to bring them on the show. And it's funny that you and I had divided this. Well, we're going to WorldCon and then we're going to bring in these local folks, right? Because even then, some of the other folks we had was Christian Majonics.
Christian Majonics,
right?
Firehouse Subs.
Chief
Marketing Officer, yep.
Out of Florida. Mm-hmm. And then Danielle Bond.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Danielle Bond, who's the current IABC chair from Melbourne, Australia. So we'll see. You get a chance to meet Danielle after talking with her on the podcast. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting her.
She's great.
Certainly. So the little show that could, we're bringing the world to Kansas City sometimes.
Yeah, we're making we're the exorbitant salary we're paid for CultivatED Marketer is now, starting to bear fruit. It's really nice to see.
Yeah. As we're recording this in my basement.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So, well, it was great to catch up.
You bet.
I've had a lot of fun just kind of walking through the different speakers we're going to see at IABC World Con, and we're very excited to share those folks with you. Matt, is there anything else you'd like to
I don't think so. I'm going to rush home and start packing. And we're going to have a bit more than my normal stuff, a little bit of audio equipment. But yeah, it'll be, we definitely will wear out the carpet in the hotel hallways. I'm quite sure of that.
Yeah. Well, the date we're recording this is the day and deadline for me to submit my presentation.
Oh,
that still needs to happen.
Yeah. So we should probably move on.
We need to move along. Well, thanks everybody for joining us and spending a little time. And we will catch up with you with our next episode, guest to be determined from IABC World Con. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
If you found value in today's episode, check us out on our website, CultivatEdMarketer.com. You'll also be able to subscribe to us, rate us, and leave us a comment on your favorite podcast platform, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Remember, a garden of opportunity grows with CultivatED Marketer.